Hacks likes this very much.
Welcome to
Coffee with Toffees.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Let's do this.
Good evening and welcome back, folks, to a new episode of Coffee with Toffees. A little bit different than some of the other shows you might know me from, but it's something that we've been doing for a very long time. Excited to bring you a new episode of it. So, basically it's going to be short and sweet. We're going to talk about the news updates that you need to know, and then we're going to roll through the tournament updates, and that'll be it for tonight. We are doing some reformatting. For those of you who have been with us for over a year now, Coffee with Toffee is going to focus on the podcast aspect. We're going to try to do some interviews. We're going to keep the news updates coming. I'm working on some new potential programs where we can add a little bit of value as well to Coffee with Toffees. But we're going to allow the sort of panel chat thing to sort of stick, I think, for the time being, with Around the Pit. We'll get more into that as that show develops as well. So if you have ideas or things that you've always enjoyed seeing from Coffee with Toffees, feel free to let me know. You can catch me or tweet me at Toffees_Dota2. I generally respond, and if I don't respond, I guarantee you that if you tweet at me, I will read it. 100% a guarantee. I read every tweet that I am mentioned in. I'm a Twitter fiend. I just get bored sometimes and like to read everything. So if you tweet at me, I will read it at Toffees_Dota2. Other plugs, thank you to Razer, makers of some of the finest equipment in esports, for helping to bring the show to you by giving me a full loadout. So all the keyboards and mice and everything we're using to make this show right now is from Razer. So thank you to the folks over there for providing me with that stuff. And if you want to support the show monetarily, I hate to be the sellout, but I do have to be. You can go to patreon.com/Toffees and choose to support the show. That helps pay for website hosting, podcast hosting, bandwidth, additional internet upgrades, equipment when things break. It's a lot. Making a podcast and a show is a lot more expensive than I thought it was. So your support is always, 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 always appreciated. That's why I keep coming back and doing the show, because it means the world to see what you guys have done in the past. All right. Let's get into the actual show. Let's talk about what's going on out there. Now, news, because it's been a long time since we came back. Literally since Reborn was announced, I haven't had a Coffee with Toffees episode. So I owed you that, and I do have to let you know we're Reborn now, boys. I know it's old news, but it is still buggy as hell. And we talked about this on Around the Pit. Should Valve have waited to release it? Hard to say. Did they want to get it out long enough before majors to get some testing in? They technically dropped it before the actual ESL New York starts. Yes, qualifiers are going, but one could argue in the grand scheme of things, you want to have the bugs worked out in a competitive sense through a qualifier group stages than maybe through a actual LAN event. So reasoning is tough to come up with. If that's the reasoning, I understand it. It stinks for the qualifiers who did suffer through things like the dire ancient stacking bugs and things like that, but that's the nature of the game. That's what we play, that's what we do, it's what we have to survive through. So Reborn's out. It's a totally different game in the sense of how it works, Source 2 engine, and honestly, I'm not a tech person, so I don't know exactly what that means. I do know that I don't like it as much. I miss the old interface. Things feel choppy to me sometimes, but that could just be because I'm old-fashioned. I don't like change. I like things to stay the way that they are. So it is what it is, but what can you do? So welcome, Reborn. I will learn to love you, I am sure, just as I learned to love the original. And all I can say is thank God we're not the League of Legends interface, because that is one that I just could not handle. If we had the League of Legends interface, I would just walk the hell away. So thank you for not doing that to us, Dota. Next piece of news to talk about, and we did talk about this a little bit on the Around the Pit show, and we'll talk about Around the Pit at the end. I don't want to take up Coffee with Toffees prime time with that, but during the show we did talk about this Gamers Resort, and the reason we talked about it is I was able to break the news due to some leaks that Gamers Resort, the Gaming Resorts tournament, was canceled. Literally, the Dota 2 players were getting ready to board planes to fly to this beautiful location where the palm trees shook, the ladies and the gentlemen got suntans on the beach, we drank mojitos by the water, and it was going to be this gorgeous, amazing experience. And then none of that happened. The whole thing was canceled. Basically, from what I understand, First off, let me read the official statement from Gaming Resorts. Then I'll tell you a few of the things I've heard have happened. So, the official statement from Gaming Resorts was this. Dear gamers, last week we hosted our first major festival. Even though we were working really hard and trying our best, a lot of things went wrong, as you may have heard or read in the media. Some things in the media were true, while others were completely blown out of proportion. But this doesn't matter now, as the details of all the mishaps that we have had during the event will be explained in an exclusive interview with our CEO that I never saw, by the way. If it's out there and you want to send it to me, please do. In this statement, we would just like to sincerely apologize for all the delays and the cancellation of the Dota 2 tournament. We understand all of the anger and frustration that these problems caused you, and we are really sorry for that. Despite the fact that nothing could go more wrong from the perspective of those who followed us online, the people that actually came to the festival had a great time. They didn't only get to meet the players and follow some great CSGO action, but they also enjoyed the idyllic nature that surrounded them, drank quality beer, meet some awesome people, and established what we hope to be life-lasting friendships. We would like to stress that our goal was not to create just another gaming festival, but a perfect gaming vacation. And we succeeded, at last in doing that. A lot of typos in here. Of course, we also took extra good care of the players, especially because of all the problems we had, so most of them left Slovenia with good impressions. We send our love and greetings, the Gaming Resorts. Now, I read that. Some of it may be true, but most of it, I want to go on a limb and say, not so sure. Gaming Resorts, you want to prove me wrong? You want to bring me to your next one? I'll give it a shot. But the pictures that I saw, the things that I heard, boom, no way. Here's the first part. We saw a tweet come out from the CSGO players showing the food that they were eating. It looked like the kind of stuff that you got at a prison in the 1920s. It was disgusting. There were players, the Navi team from CSGO, from what I understand, and again, I can't confirm this is just what was passed to me from the grapevine, spent at least one night sleeping 5 to a room. Players on the floor during this experience. Then they said the computers weren't running. The computers that they built for this event didn't have graphics cards that could run the games, okay? Yes, CSGO, I guess, takes a little bit of effort from a graphic card, but come on, 4 or 5 years old, it can still take it, but they didn't. So they sent a guy out to pick him up. The guy never came back. The cards disappeared. Now, this is not a surprise to me, okay? Even in the States, even in the US, I'm pretty sure that if you grabbed a delivery driver and said, hey, here's a few $1,000s worth of video game cards or gaming cards for computers. Would you mind taking them to this venue? They may never actually all make them there, or at least not all of them. So I can't hold that against them. That's the nature of humans. Maybe they should have watched it a little bit closer. Then on top of that, we canceled the Dota tournament, and then we hear that police showed up at the event and detained the players, taking their passports because according to them, they hadn't paid the hotel. It then came out that apparently the people who were funding the tournament didn't pay the hotel, not the players, and they were eventually given back their passports and released to leave the country. That's mind-blowing to me. How crazy would it be if you were in Slovenia from a foreign country, you were told you were coming for this cool vacation, next thing you know, you're eating gruel, sleeping 5 to a room, and being arrested by the police who are stealing your passport in a language you don't understand. Sounds a little bit out of the box for me, more than I choose to deal with. But that said, the players and the teams, the Dota ones especially, haven't put out too many complaints, probably because they weren't ever really there. And from what I understand, the teams that did already buy tickets were refunded for those. So Gaming Resorts was a bust. Will it be next time? Will there be a next time? It's really hard for me to believe that there will, but who knows? I won't rule out any hope just yet. That's it. I got a little soapboxy there, didn't I? Oh, well, you know what happens. Let's jump to the next topic. Boom. Talent lineup for ESL New York has been revealed. Guys, I'm going to go over the lineup for you because it's a little bit small on my screen. That is Toby Wan. Actually, I'll go to the full zoom for you here. For those of you who are on the podcast listening audio-wise, I hit a button to make it bigger. That was the sound effect behind it. All right. Toby Dawson, or Toby Wan, Mr. Kenobi, will be on the casting group along with Austin Walsh, or Capitalist as you know him, Ben Merlini Wu, and Cinderin will be taking the primary caster position. The analyst desk will be made up of Milk, Seven King Mad, and Pyrian Flax. So a very interesting desk. I'm curious to see how that one goes. I know that they have desk hosts, so that means that these guys are just doing the analysis portion of things. And I think it'll work well, because here's who the hosts are. The hosts, the first one, obvious and a really great choice to be Red Eye. So Paul is going to be there. He'll be the desk host, I would imagine, though it hasn't really been told what roles they're going to take. And I think that the guys who will be on the panel with him, it'll work well. Especially, and people are going to laugh at me for this, because Pyrian is there. So Pyrian Flax has come out and he said many times, I would never be a solo caster. I'm not great at this game. I just effing love it. Here's the thing. Oh, is this the 2014 announcement that I looked at? Oh, shit. Oh, no. Where'd 2015 go? Here it is. Hit the wrong button. So everything I just said, completely ignore. Yeah, that was old. Man, I wish Pyrian was back. I think it would have worked really well. So here we are. We're back to this. Let's pretend none of that happened. We'll start from scratch. And because I do all of my shows live, that means that all of you on the podcast just got to hear Toffee stick his proverbial foot deep into his proverbial mouth. My sincerest apologies. But hey, I'm not on ESPN, all right? I fund this thing myself. You know where I am? My basement. So shit happens. All right, here we go. The host for the event will be Dakota. God, you know, I should have known that. I remember talking to Dakota. It's been a long day. We'll go over that later. The host for the event will be Dakota. He has been doing a phenomenal job lately, and I'm going to be glad to see him doing it. It sounds like he's going to be sort of the crowd host to a certain extent, and maybe do a little bit of panel hosting as well, because we also know that the desk host will be Andrew Ziori Campbell. So Zari's going to be taking that kind of pole position, running the desk, the place that Red Eye or Cho would have been in the past. So this is a pretty good thing for Ziori. I know he's been trying to get a bigger hosting role lately. He left BTS towards those ends, and this is great that ESL is willing to bring him in to do that. So hopefully it'll be really well. The other person who is listed on host is the reporter, and that is Zoe. So Zoe will be there as a reporter. I don't know what that means necessarily. I guess she'll be going around talking to people in the crowd, etc. Sort of what Slacks did last year. They didn't really utilize him, though, so I'm not sure what they're going to do with Zoe this time around. Casters are going to be Toby Wan, so I did get that right. It will be Capitalists and Ben Wu Merlini, so those are right. I did say that, and they're going to add William Blitz Lee to the casting group, as well as Kevin Godek, or Purge, as you know him. So, first and foremost, I hope they pick a lot of Storm Spirit, because Blitz is going to be there. That's funny, because in TI, he cast a lot of... Anyway. It was a lot of Storm Spirit at TI. Cap and Toby Wan, so the joint Dota crew is there. And then we're also seeing Merlini and Purge, so a little bit of a touch of BTS with a splash of Moonduck. Sounds like a very well-rounded group. Should be a lot of fun. Hani is going to be taking the spot on the desk, along with Melk returning, and Nahaz as the final panelist. So this is going to be another big panel. Lots of smarts there. Nahaz is an interesting change to the Pyrian Flax. The reason I was talking earlier about why I like Pyrian Flax is because of the fact that I think that every panel requires a few things. A panel requires a host who maybe doesn't know the game inside and out, but has a familiarity with it and knows how to control the tempo of a discussion. That is key. They also need to take producers' guidelines, and that's a huge part we don't think about. I want you to keep in mind, every time you watch a host, and flame them all you want, unless I'm on the hosting panel, and then don't do that. But if it's any host, here's the thing that they have to deal with. Not only are they managing big personalities, not only are they managing time, not only are they managing conversation flow, they also have an earpiece where somebody is talking to them, I would say about 60 to 70% of the time, giving them orders, giving them time calls, giving them progression issues, giving them things to bring up, and that's a lot to process. To be able to listen to them at the same time as you interact with a panel, that's a lot of difficult stuff to do. And I think a key to a successful panel is someone like a Pyrian, or in this situation it'll be Nahaz, and that is a outgoing, outspoken person who's willing to just sort of fill the dead space, who's willing to talk and sort of just run with an idea, and the host can rein them in because they listen, but they help keep things moving and they take some of the pressure off the panel host. And I think having Nahaz on that desk is going to be a very, very good thing to have as they go forward with that. So it makes Ziori's job just a touch easier, and then Hani and Melk will be bringing obviously that sort of player perspective as well as Nahaz with the stats. He's sort of like this genius Pyrian, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. So that is the talent list. I do want to point out, on this list, there is no interviewer. No interviewer whatsoever on this thing. So you have two options. A, we can start hashtag bring back Slacks, which I think is a great idea. I love having him out there talking to fans, doing the cool stuff. He's a great interviewer. I don't think he gets enough credit for how hard he works. And the other option is you could go right now to Twitter and you could tweet James Lampkin, who's in charge of hiring the talent at Knigget, and say, why isn't Toffees there doing the hard-hitting Dan Rather style interviews? Let me sit down with the players and say things like, so tell me about your journey. Was it difficult? What did you struggle with? You know, like that kind of thing, but like less intense. All right, so that is it for the ESL news for talent. We'll get to the rest of the ESL stuff a little bit later in the show, but it's going to be a good one. I'm excited about it. And we'll bring up a little bit later how the cancellation of gaming resorts actually changes the atmosphere of the ESL event. Next piece of news as we roll back here is, here we go. This is a new one. This has been out for a while, but it sort of goes hand in hand with something else today. So we never really talked about the fact that Terra Horse Studios officially launched its new tournament. Officially launched itself. So Terra Horse is out. They are now a talent promotion site. They are managing, no, I guess they're not managing DC. They're just involved sort of side by side with them, I guess you'd say. Their own studio, they have their own tournament, they have their own podcast, so they're sort of making a big stomp into the scene. And they're going to lead that off, sorry about that, with a new tournament called Elimination Mode. And from what I understand of Elimination Mode, what's going to happen is the teams play each other, and they are allowed to use any hero in the pool, period. So not just heroes in captain's mode, but all pick sort of style. However, after they pick a hero, that hero cannot be picked again for the entire series. So that means that in the best of 3, you will see every single time 15 very different heroes. Actually, I think it might be more. I don't know if the rule is that the other team can't pick a hero that was already picked or not. I'll have to look into that, and we'll talk about it next week. About how it worked out. The best of finals is a best of 5, which means even less heroes in the pool. So that final is something I'm definitely going to be watching. It should be an awful lot of fun. So that will be very, very cool. It should be an interesting tournament, and I think will change people's perspective of a lot of heroes, and also be a great way to sort of test some of those heroes that have been outside of the competitive pool for a while. Maybe get a chance to pull some new things in. So that's what I'm excited about that. Now, that turns us over to something else, which is Fire was originally scheduled to play in this tournament and to start out against DC, Digital Chaos. They pulled out. They said they were not going to play in elimination mode because they wanted to focus on the ESL. That said, Fire Dota, it has worked out very well for them. Fire Dota had to play Digital Chaos, which they came out in a 2-1 game. Went on to face Complexity in the finals. Cover your ears if you're planning on watching it. Spoiler alert, I purposely left the score off of the screen for you watching. So if you don't want to know who won, cover your ears. Don't listen to this for the next 15 seconds. Fire Dota beat Complexity 3-0. That's pretty big news there. So they went ahead and took that win. They go on, advance from North America. Could not be prouder of them. We did have Fluff on the show last week talking about what it's going to take to make Fire successful. As you can see, it actually has paid off. So great job to those guys. And you know what we're going to do is we're going to transition that straight into the tournament roundup. No commercial day. We're just going to plow on through. And I do want to shoot a great shout out, guys, to Proxy PL. He's the lead writer for this show. He actually helps a lot with things like the tournament roundup. He's got a new segment we're going to add to the show where he actually talks, does a segment every week specifically about the tournament scene and some other stuff going on it. So I'm excited about when we bring that into the show. He's a great writer and has been a ton of help. And if you don't follow him, make sure you do check him out over on Twitter. All right, so tournament roundup. We're going to transition straight to ESL New York because we're already at ESL New York. Remember, this is going 310 to 410, $250,000 announced plus crowdfunding. We don't know what that's at yet, but it's going to get pretty big. Now, here's the interesting thing. Due to Gaming Paradise being canceled, ESL New York now has the prestigious position of being the first LAN event post TI5. As a result, it's going to be very difficult for us to sort of sit back and know who's going to win or how people are going to do. Keep in mind, the teams that are invited to this event, this is a pretty big event in the sense of the teams that will be there. Team Secret, Virtus Pro, CDEC Gaming, Evil Geniuses, Vega Squadron, and Fnatic so far. Add to that the winner of the NA qualifier, close your ears, Fire, means that we're already in a very competitive looking tournament. Now, I want to talk about the NA qualifier seconds because that's what's been going on. People, I think, sort of wrote off Complexity Gaming a little bit after the shuffle and said they're not going to be overly competitive. I think a lot of folks wrote off Fire Dota and said they're not going to be as competitive as, say, C9 or Digital Chaos is going to be. And a lot of folks said, hey, C9 or DC is going to be the second best team in America. EG will be the first. We're going to have 2 solid teams. That's the way it's going to be. But I think the fact that Complexity and Fire both performed so ridiculously strongly in the qualifiers, and admittedly Fire had a very difficult road to come down, a little harder than I think Complexity did, but both teams looked very, very good, says that it's not just those two, the 2 or 3 teams that we thought were competing for top spots. It looks like we have 5 teams that can potentially be huge competitors. And honestly, after the performance of C9 and DC, we wonder, is Complexity and Fire going to be able to pass them into that 2 position? So it's going to be a really great feud coming out of North America moving forward. I think NA Dota has grown leaps and bounds. I think that every team has an off day, but I am really excited to see how these teams sort of fall out once we start to see the stack, right? Once we get a couple tournaments under our belt, once this LAN goes down, where our North American teams sort of fall on the ranking list. And it's an exciting time to no longer just depend on EG to sort of carry us all to glory, even though EG did that so aggressively well during TI5. All right, let's jump to the MLG World Finals. For an unknown reason, MLG decided to drop the entire league system and didn't follow anything that they had announced to us. Instead, they just invited all the top teams and made 2 qualifier spots, to which they also invited people to compete without looking at any previous results. As a result, because of all of this, we're going to have MLG basically, I think it'll be almost exactly the same as the ESL 1 lineup 2 weeks later. So 2 weeks after ESL 1, all these teams get a chance to reprove themselves in MLG. Now, I understand to a certain extent why they made the changes. The new major system is a very difficult thing to work around because, hey, guess what? We are less than 2 months away from the next major from what I understand, and none of us know anything. The common man knows nothing about the next major, and I think that that is causing a lot of trouble. I'm sure that other organizers and stuff have ideas, but because it's been so tough for us to get information, some of these tournaments are having to make pretty drastic changes. And I think that may be involved with why MLG World Finals changed what their intended format was initially. Prize pool for this is also $250,000 plus crowdfunding. The participating teams will be as follows. I'll slow it down as I read this to you. Team Secret, Virtus Pro, Evil Geniuses, CDEC Gaming, LGD Gaming, MVP Phoenix from the SCA qualifier, an EU qualifier, and an NA qualifier. So again, we're going to see the NA feud for who gets the qualifier position. That said, it's going to be another good throwdown between some top teams. EG going to be in a really strong position. CDEC hopefully went home and learned to play this track, so they'll do better when they come into this tournament. MVP Phoenix has been looking strong lately. Virtus Pro has always been a force, and reminder, they've made no changes to their roster. So Virtus Pro, as well as CDEC, has a unique benefit going into these tournaments right out of the gate because these are 2 LANs within 2 weeks where these teams have not changed their roster, and they have LAN experience together, which is important. Do not underestimate the importance, especially if you go and you're one of those better types, of a team not making changes, because LANs are intense, the emotion is high, the crowds are crazy, and having somebody on your team who you know how they perform and how they react can be very, very important. So look for these teams to do really well in these first 2 tournaments. Next up is the Nanyang Dota 2 Championships. This is a $200,000 tournament, plus, of course, crowdfunding. It's a new tournament. It's going to be held in Singapore. A lot of folks are saying it's a Chinese tournament. It is not. Singapore is not in China. China is not Singapore. So keep that in mind. 2 different things. With their timing and their prize pool, they've managed to attract almost all of the top teams from the world besides EG. EG chose not to play in this tournament, so they wanted to focus on other things like the majors. They're playing in some big tournaments prior to this. I totally understand where they're coming from, but that doesn't have to mean the tournament will be organized perfectly. And what that means is this is a untested group as far as I know or am concerned. It could be really amazing. It could be really, really difficult. And I wonder if that's part of the reason the EG chose not to go to it. We shall see. Teams participating in this, and there are 10 of them, will be Secret, Virtus Pro, CDEC, LGD. So no surprises there. Those are all the same teams that were in the last 2 majors. Then we have Vici Gaming, Fnatic, both got direct invites, interestingly enough, followed by Cloud9, then the EU qualifier, the SCA qualifier, and the Chinese qualifier. Cloud9, by the way, did win the American qualifier to earn their spot. So they will be going in that second American position. They actually annihilated Digital Chaos in the North American qualifier, making everybody wonder if they're going to be the dominating force in America after EG. However, when you talk about the performance in the last qualifier for ESL, that puts it back into question. So C9, one of those teams that, let me put it this way. If you are a C9 fan, and you have been a C9 fan, you're kind of like a Cubs fan, right? You always want to cheer for them. You always hope they do well, and they always give you just enough hope to make you break your heart. They don't perform badly. They're always a top team, but they have their moments. And it looks like C9, this new C9 is going to have a lot of the same stuff as the last one. So it should be pretty interesting to see how it plays out. I think C9 will be a good team once they get their synergy together. But again, if you look at Nanyang, followed by ESL, if you're a C9 fan, it's good and then it's bad, man. That's just the life of the C9. Jumping over to the last thing we're going to talk about tonight, that is the Defense Season 5. After nearly 2 years on break, one of the legendary tournaments is back. This time the Defense isn't going to be only an online cup. It'll finish with a LAN final. So big change for the Defense. The tournament is held in multiple stages. Right now, the first one is going on. That's $75,000 with crowdfunding. Stage 1 is going to be Group A, Scary Faces, New Team, Team Alternate, 5 Jungs, who just played recently, I think, in the Alienware Cup and did a great job. Danish Bears, Lemon Dogs. Group B is Monkey Business, Monkey Freedom Fighters, Power Rangers, 4 Clovers and a Leprechaun, 4 Archons and SC, and Golden Boy. So a little bit of a smaller tournament, Tier 2, I guess you could say, but still a tournament that's been around for a long time, that has a pedigree within the Dota world, and should be an awful lot of fun to watch. So Join Dota will be working on that along with Twitch, and you can check out all those broadcasts there. That's it for news tonight, guys. Hopefully, you got a lot out of where we're going with all of this. I think that it was a good roundup. It should get you caught back up. We've got some new things coming with the show. Hopefully, it will catch on soon. Don't forget to check out a new episode of Around the Pit on Sunday night. I'm hoping to get the same guests back, and I should fill you guys in. So this is where we do a little bit of housekeeping. Coffee with Toffees has been off the air for a little while. It's been a crazy 2 weeks. My son just turned 1 year old, and for those of you guys who are sticking around with us and haven't taken off, I will, wow, that's my old overlay. For those of you watching, that's what the overlay used to look like back in the day. All right, so here we are, we're back on track. My son just turned 1 year old, and in Hawaiian culture, which I don't know if you guys know, I'm Hawaiian, 1 year is a very big birthday. So we had a huge party, tons of stuff going on, and then somebody came with the flu and got everyone sick. So that knocked us out. On top of that, I wanted to launch the new show Around the Pit, and then on the last episode on Sunday, I got DDoSed and had to crash the show halfway through. So it's been a very hectic week, and honestly, my focus has been getting all those things fixed and running the right way, and not getting a new episode of Coffee with Toffees out. We also had an interview that we were supposed to do fall through, unfortunately, that set me back as well. So I apologize. The show will be back on a weekly basis. We've got some writers on board, some new stuff coming out. I think you will enjoy it. But because I talked about my son, I am going to give you guys a little view. I'm just going to show you right off my cell phone. I'm not going to get tech with it. But I want you to be able to see the little man and how much he has grown up in the last year. So this is him standing, which is exciting. And I'm pretty proud of that kid. So his first birthday just happened, and I got to share it with you because that's what I do. I'm a proud father. I can't help it. That said, guys, stick around, watch more shows. I appreciate you being around. Thank you to Razor for giving us the support on the show. You can follow me at Toffees_Dota2. And again, if you want to help fund the show, please, please, please feel free to go to patreon.com/Toffees and contribute. But on the same token, if you don't want to, don't. Like, I don't want to put any pressure on you. I like doing the show. I've done it for well over a year now. Patreon is the only way we fund it right now. We don't have any monetary sponsors. So if you do want to help with that and you want to help fund the show, it means the world to me. I've got some new hats coming in on Sunday that we'll be selling, and I'll bring those onto the show once they get in. And I'm also working with trying to get a Design by Human store open so that we can sell shirts for Coffee with Toffees as well as Around the Pit, and hopefully help fund the show a little bit that way as well. As always, you can hit the sub button, some cool emoticons there if you want them. And if you are listening on the podcast, make sure that you say that you like it and give us a review so that we can work our way up to that featured podcast of the week. Finally, if you guys are Coffee with Toffees podcast subscribers, you may have noticed Around the Pit automatically going into the Coffee with Toffees feed, so you will be getting Around the Pit sent to your iPod. If you don't like that, I apologize. However, it costs me a monthly fee to host podcasts, and I'm really not ready to pay extra money to host Around the Pit in a separate podcast yet. In time, that will happen, but for now, I just don't have the funding to do it. So if you don't like that, I'll label them Around the Pit. You can just delete them immediately, but I recommend you listen to them. I've had a lot of fun doing it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun going forward. That said, guys, I really appreciate you listening tonight. Join us on Sunday for our new Around the Pit, and of course, we'll be back with more Coffee with Toffees next week. But have a wonderful night, play more Dota, and guys, as always, Toffees out.